Clothing poverty is not having enough money to buy the clothes that you need. Not only the clothes that you want, but literally the clothes that you need. It can be the difference between somebody being able to get a particular job or any job. It can be the difference between somebody being able to leave the house and not. It can be children not being able to play outside because they've not got a coat. It can be families unable to go out together because either their children are sharing coats or they've not got their own clothing. It permeates every area of your life if you've not got appropriate clothing. If you've only got clothing that's appropriate to stay in the house, you can't go anywhere or do anything, and it really limits people's lives and opportunities that they can do.
It's the knock-on effect for me that causes clothing poverty. You're only just about managing to pay your rent to the council, and all the rest of it. And then you've got to think about putting food on the table. Clothing is the last thing that you think about. So for me, that's clothing poverty.
Clothing poverty can affect all members of the family, from the newborn baby who's arrived with nothing, up to the adults of the family. So we aim to provide the items to cover all of those scenarios and support people from newborn up to 90.
Across the UK, 14 million people living in poverty, and we know that these people are accessing food banks. We know that this poverty exists, but clothing poverty is almost the hidden aspect. We don't have nationwide facts and figures to tell us this data. We don't have it, they don't exist.
One of the reasons why people don't disclose clothing poverty, we feel, is because of the stigma involved in that, and it's actually kind of exposing yourself to reveal that need to others. So it seems to have become okay to talk about not having food on the table and not being able to feed your children, incredibly, in 21st century UK. And it just seems to have entered the common psyche of the country, but clothing need hasn't entered the common psyche.
A lot of the shops now, a lot of them aren't existing anymore. One is going, then another's going. So, and it's leaving all the expensive shops behind, which you can't afford. I mean, sometimes they're £50 up to £70 for an item. So how can you afford that?
I'm a mental health nurse. I trained in England. I'm a refugee. I was an asylum seeker. And I was a refused asylum seeker for about 10 years. And I live in Nottingham. As a refused asylum seeker, I was only eligible for Section 95, which is just the basic £35 a week in the form of a voucher that I could buy my essentials. So I had no access to cash whatsoever for 5 years.
Well, before Christmas, in December, I had a couple of operations. I was about 11 stone then. I was on the jugs and that. Well, I've come off the jugs. I put about 16 stone there. So I put 5 stone on. I'm running out of clothes.
PJ paralysis was recognised a few years ago that there was potentially harmful effects of patients wearing hospital gowns, that it extended their bed rest, potentially extended their length of stay and worsened their clinical outcomes. I think for patients themselves, derobing from that sick role is really powerful. Support their feelings of self-worth and self-esteem. It really does have a powerful effect on their mindset, their mental, emotional well-being. So with this, our key performance indicators locally are that our patients are dressed. It definitely supports early recovery. It reduces, I guess, the imbalance of power. As soon as somebody becomes dressed, they feel more healthy. They feel more able to contribute and collaborate to goal setting. It's a self-expression of their own personality and identity.
Something changing in their life, but they they need the right clothes to start that new chapter. And doing what we do is great because it would normalize helping or being helped or asking for help. Everybody's, let's say, anything could happen in anybody's life, and anybody could need help. So why not giving help? There's really, literally no reason I can think of for not giving help to somebody who's in need.
Because I get some nice jeans and nice clothes, it make my day really better, you know, because I didn't know that. I was not expecting, but I just surprised. You know what I mean? You're doing good job, you know, for like we don't have a clothes, then we come here, we choose for free. That is it's amazing. Good job, yeah.
Life costs. And you know, let's be honest, everybody would like something different, wouldn't they, to wear? And so we need these groups, we need these structures, and they need as much support as possible. Because if they do disappear, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be struggling even more, you know, because it's already a struggle with regards to, you know, bills, the everyday things that you do need.
The thousands of people that we've clothed this year alone would otherwise have gone unclothed. We know that there are lots of people struggling economically in these areas, and we're not just for crisis clothing, we're for people on low incomes, we're for those people struggling to just go out and clothe their family. Because it's so expensive. If you've got a couple of kids, it's so expensive to clothe your entire family. So we want people now to know, now we are here, that we're here and about the work that we're doing.
It's still kind of assumed by the general public that everyone has access to clothes, and clothes are an easy thing to come by, which is not true at all. And I think we need to get to a place where clothes are not just things that people put on, but it's things that people are comfortable in and make them feel good. And just to say that they've got clothes is not enough anymore. And it's not just about the clothes, it's being able to come and choose clothes. You know, look for clothes, look in a mirror and compare what looks best, rather than just accepting whatever's in a black bag that's given to you.
From one side, we've got people who can't afford clothes. From the other side, we've got a market that just produces so many clothes every season that people don't really give value to.
You know that clothing poverty exists, but you don't realise to what extent.
So I work with victims of human trafficking and modern-day slavery. They can be from European Union, and of course I support British clients as well. Sharewear is responsive. Sharewear is fast. Sharewear is well organized and easy to reach, to be able to support clients on highest level.
Oh, they're nice, aren't they? Yeah. What size is it?
We work with clients who are in the NRM, which means they have either been trafficked or they've been involved in modern slavery, and that can be refugees, it can be asylum seekers, or it can be UK citizens. And we work to essentially empower them, to give them independence, to help them move from victim to survivor. And Sharewear are a massive help with that because they give them clothing, they allow them to have an identity, feel safe. You know, we take clothing for granted because it's always there or we can buy it. Whereas people who have no money or just aren't confident to leave the house yet because of what they've experienced, actually, if they can have options to, you know, wear different clothes depending on what they feel like, that can really make someone's day.
And that's why we often put them in
A place like Sharewear comes into play because first, providing them with clothing, because some of them are so destitute they don't even have clothes by the time you meet them. So being able to have clothing as soon as possible and for free, and it's of good quality, and also as they're trying to find themselves, being able to still rely on the same supply to take key steps in your life. Because aside from that, aside from victims of domestic violence, we also deal with victims of people who've gone through county line type of exploitation. Exposing them to that kind of kindness where you would be able to have what you need and it's just
without expecting anything in return from you. So that has been very integral in trying to get our clients' confidence back and help them grow their self-esteem and, you know, go out there and do great things. Being able to have clothing that's suitable to the weather also gives you some kind of safety. Yes, so Sharewear, I mean, they've been integral in helping us make sure that we provide what our clients need.
First point of contact that we might have with somebody in prison is actually, especially we've seen in the last year, is women writing to us asking for clothing, because often women go into prison and that's all that they have, the clothes on their back, and it can be a good few weeks and months that they only have that, and sometimes struggle to get what they need when they're in prison. I know that my colleague, she also did a referral for somebody and they particularly wanted something with Mickey Mouse, and so Sharewear was able to source that for them, and that was a real blessing to that lady. And people can often get into a predicament where they're suddenly homeless, or they're street homeless, or they've been sofa surfing, and all of their clothes get left in certain places and it's difficult to get those things back. Or another thing is that often people fluctuate in size when they come in and out of prison. Obviously you are able to get your 3 meals a day in prison, and people do put on weight. So then to be able to, you know, serve them in that way, to be able to provide something that is adequate for them in that situation. So it is very much, we respond to the need that someone's in.
We empower people basically to achieve better, brighter futures. Framework are very fortunate to be a partner of Sharewear's. We receive clothing to all of our services across the board. The fact that it's not just necessarily homeless people. It's everybody that it affects from all kind of walks of life. And at Framework, we can see that because we support so many different kinds of people with short-term needs, longer-term needs, people who have been rough sleeping, people who are out of work, people who have health-based problems that we can support. And all of those people benefit from clothing because many of those people are living in clothing poverty. And that's a sad and damning fact of 21st century Britain.
I had a client of mine who had been working all his life, contributed with his taxes and everything. And unfortunately, he was working in factory work with agency work. So he stopped working. He thought he would have another job. He stopped working, he lost his house, he ended up in the streets. He was in the streets for 3.5 years, and he was on methadone. It was very difficult. I managed to house him, but one of the problems he had was he didn't have clothes. He only had a pair of trousers and 2 tops, and it was the middle of winter. And so I was able to help bring him here and had lots of different clothes. He took clothes, I helped him and everything. He was a different person afterwards, and he was ready to start doing volunteer work. He was ready to work. He was able to rebuild his life, and now he is clean and he is a support worker. So he is giving back to the community what he was able to receive before, and that's one of the most amazing stories I have had.
If I want a coat, I can come and get one, and they're cheap. They're free, so they are cheap. They can't get no cheaper, you know. But that's the way life is, you know. You'd struggle if you didn't have one of these places.
You never come here and leave empty-handed. You always go with something and a smile.